really garbo perks that he helped. Is there a part 2? We can just go straight into that. Yes.
Yo, what's up guys, it's Tat, and I recently put out a video where I was discussing the meta perks for Survivor and Killer and trying to make some changes to them. Basically, I'm not happy with the current meta, and I want to see what I could do and what I could come up with when it came to balance changes for both sides. Now, the reception of that video is actually pretty positive. A lot of people had a lot of constructive feedback, and people were very respectful. So I thought, okay, you know what? Let's go for part 2. So I have even more Survivor perks and Killer perks that I think are in need of some changes. And just like last time, let's start with the Survivor perks. Very easy one to start us off here. The leader is getting a slight buff. It now increases the action speed bonus by 33%. It was 25%. So a very slight buff here, but it is a buff. Medal of Man.
I think with like leader, it's one of those things where like survivors do everything faster together, but that's like not really. It's not really. Yeah, like it's not really like pertinent to stay grouped up, but like I don't know. Like you said, it might cause some problems with like the super speed healing that we already have. Like we already have super speed healing as like a thing in the game already that is already very cheesable. I feel like leader would just be another way to like add super speed cheese of healing in the game. I feel like that one might need revisiting. Not just like buffing the value, but kind of looking at it again and seeing if there's like not even the effect is bad, but just kind of like not just outright buffing the number. Buff its percent for the healing, maybe. Cap self-healing speed, yeah, it's a problem with self-healing speed in general, but like as things are, it's like what you have to work with.
A slight rework. I'm not gonna call it a rework, it's more like a pseudo rework of, if anything, but increases the number of required stacks now to 4 instead of 3, but you can now get stacks by safely unhooking other survivors. Maybe this is a bad idea, but I think that the amount of effort a survivor has to go through to earn Medal of Man compared to pressing E is like night and day. So I figured I would make it a little bit easier to obtain, but still time consuming compared to Dead Hard, where it's just you press a button. It's the same effect, it's just, you know, a different version of endurance.
Yeah, so he increased the amount of stacks you need to get it, but added another option to charge it. Is what, yeah, that's what this is. So it requires more stacks, but it's easier to obtain them because you have safe on it as an option now. I mean, I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing to have another perk that encourages altruism. Yeah, I don't think it's a bad idea to have another perk that encourages altruism. This is something that would get people off gens, right? And force people to actually, like, you know, do something else, do some of the other objectives in the games. Yeah, I think this is fine. I think without the increased stacks, I'd be concerned. But if you increase the number required, yeah.
Basically. Off the Record is getting a nerf. I've made 2 changes to it. The effect duration is now 60 seconds, down from 80 seconds, and now all of the effects will disable when a conspicuous action is performed. So you can't just like hop on a gen and still have the grunts of pain be suppressed. You're gonna have to decide, do I want to hold on to this better Iron Will and save it for when I might be chased, or do I just give up the endurance and the grunts of pain?
I'm assuming this is in conjunction with his DS change. I don't know, because like I don't want this. Like this initially, I'm like, why nerf that? But then like he's existing in his fictional world where like he has already rebuffed DS, so maybe it'd be fine. Maybe it'd be fine. I think with DS still being gone, I wouldn't be cool with this, but you know.
To work on the generator. That's basically the trade-off here, and I think, yeah, that's pretty fair. Off the Record is just simply one of the best perks in the game right now, and it definitely needs a nerf to bring it in line with the rest. Speaking of bringing in line with the rest, how many of you have literally ever used the perk Poised?
Yep.
I doubt many of you have. It has a new effect now. Gain a token each time a generator is completed. While healthy and running, press the active ability 1 button to consume a token. When a token is consumed,
every time a gen
you leave no scratch
period?
marks for the next 10
A
seconds.
gen period? Not like gens you do, but gens period? So this is guaranteed value. Huh. Guaranteed. I would have made it every gen you're a part of. Like if you like any gen that pops that you've contributed to, you get a token to do this. Because no scratch marks for 10 seconds? That's like essentially like pocket shadow step. You know what I'm saying? That's like pocket shadow step, my dude. And if you get guaranteed value because it's every gen completed, you got pocket shadow step. Like for every single gen, I would make a gen that you contributed to. Yeah, like gens that you like had a part in finishing, and maybe, yeah, like Volgan said, make it like a certain amount. That way you can't just go tap all the gens at the beginning of the match and then just have all your stacks. Yeah, because like Shadow Step, we've already seen is Shadow Step is a pretty powerful effect. Shadow Step's a pretty strong perk. So just the ability to just naturally just kind of have pocket Shadow Step just because the game happens, really, you might be overbuffing this perk. I think this might be too strong.
This is spicy. This is a really, really nice perk. Now, it might be a little too strong at 10-second duration. Maybe I could drop the duration.
It's not the
to,
duration,
like 3,
it's just
4,
the
5 seconds.
It's the accessibility.
My God, this would be so good when you're running the killer. Survivors are doing the generators. You're looping the killer. They'd pop a gen. If you're healthy, press this button. Boom. No more scratch marks. You can round a corner and just be gone. I think this would be really, really interesting to play around with quite a bit. Next is again another rework. In fact, well, the next 3 are reworks. The next 3 survivor perks, that is, and that is first premonition. Literally, like 5 people use this perk, so it's getting a rework. After safely unhooking another survivor from a hook, this perk activates. While active, the next time you enter into a chase with the killer, reveal their aura for the next 6 seconds and gain a 2% movement speed boost for the duration. I think this would be kind of cute. It wouldn't be too game changing. It would give you a little bit of info, like if the killer is trying to like double back or something. But really the thing here is the speed boost. Now it's 2%. It's not a whole lot. That might be the difference between you getting a pallet or
I'd have to play with this one. I'd have to actually play and see if it matters.
Down or become injured. So I think it would overall be a decent change. Next,
yeah, I'd have to play with that one. That one's like, he's right. It's like, it's kind of teeter-tottering between maybe it's too good or maybe it's like not a factor, but I'd have to play with it and see. That one's kind of like sketchy, I think. Dark Theory? I don't know. I think, is Dark Theory like 4? It's 2%? You just be giving a whole boon effect just as a... Oh, it's 4 seconds after you leave the range. That's where I was getting the number 4. That's where I was getting number 4 from. It's 4 seconds after you leave the range that you retain the 2%. I don't know. That's a whole boon that you're just giving to somebody just because they enter chase. I mean, you do have to unhook somebody to activate it, but like... Still... Dark Thing lingers, yeah. Yeah, hard to tell. I'd have to play with it. I'd have to play with that one.
Light rework to Unbreakable, a very, very powerful survivor perk. Don't worry, it still keeps the ability to recover from the dying state, but new effect. So you can recover from the dying state once per trial, but after recovering from the dying state, your aura cannot be read by the killer for the next 30 seconds. It will no longer increase your recovering speed. So you recover in 32 seconds. But after you do so, your aura is hidden for 30 seconds. I think this is a pretty good middle ground. It still keeps the perk useful, but gives it a new secondary effect that's less game-changing than the increased recovery speed. Next,
I don't know. I don't know. Unbreakable is another one of those perks, kind of like Dead Hard, where like the effect is the issue and not so much the values and like what's happening on the other end. It's just like the effect is super strong. So it's like, it's not one of those you just fix it by like, you know, like he just basically swapped like, you know, the extra recovery speed for kind of an off the record kind of anti-aura reading thing, but like the getting up is the problematic part. That's the strong part of it. So I don't know if like, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if that's sorry, I did not have the subtitles on for this. Yeah, I don't know. Like, it seems like you're just kind of keeping the same and just switching the side effect.
Up the ante. Again, another perk that just nobody uses because luck is a pointless mechanic in the game and should most certainly get reworked. But up the ante is getting a rework first here, and that is that when the exit gates are powered, this perk activates. Any survivor you take a protection unit for gains a 7% haste status effect for the next 3, 4, and 5 seconds. So if you go ahead in the end game,
that'd be fun.
You're making some clutch saves, and oh, there's an injured survivor. They might not make the exit gate. Well, let me take a hit, and now not only do you get out, but they will most certainly get out with an extra speed boost. So this could definitely come into play. There are other plays that you could make as well. For example,
and it's another one of those perks that's balanced by the fact that it's a dead perk slot if you never make it to end game. Kind of like Hope, right? Like Hope is dope, but like Hope, you don't get value of it if you don't make it to end game, right? So it's another one of those perks. It's like, yeah, this would be really cool in the end game. Really cool. I'm all for more. Like, one of the things I really do like about 6.1 from a survivor perspective is that you can do more end game things. Like, there are more end game possibilities. You know? Like, I like that has been a thing that's always been available to killers, right? It's always been available to killers that killers have end game builds, but survivors haven't really had the option of end game builds besides just running at you, right? Running at you, that's my end game build. But now I would take more end game.
If you're taking a hit for someone who is injured and they're trying to get an unhook, for example, or even a healthy survivor, right? Now they're going to get a 7% speed boost, and they're going to be able to take use of that even after they get the unhook for a few seconds. So I think this is probably one of the more simple kind of reworks I've done, but I think I think it would be kind of useful in endgame, especially if you like to bring hope and no one left behind and other endgame perks. I think this would be right up your alley. Moving on to the killer perks. Most of them, I think, oh, actually, no, they're not. I thought for whatever reason, most of them are reworks, but I am mistaken. The first is Distressing, which is indeed getting a rework. Any survivor within range of a boon totem hears your terror radius and cannot discern its direction or distance. After snuffing a boon totem, any survivor within range of the boon totem's effects is inflicted with the exposed status effect for 30 seconds. So...
What? What? Was Distressing a problem? Why are we changing Distressing? Right, I get that Distressing's like... Distressing's a perk that's kind of like niche for its own, like, you know, builds. But like, this is a whole different perk. Yeah, I agree with Zay. This is a different perk. This isn't Distressing. This isn't Distressing. This is a different perk. This is like a brand new perk idea. This isn't a, I don't think this matches Distressing. It's like, it doesn't suck. It's just niche. You use it in conjunction with other perks. You combo it with other perks. It's not like, it's not meant to be a perk you run by itself. This sounds like an anti-boon perk. Like, this sounds closer to Shattered Hope than like Distressing. Distressing like open-handed, yeah. Like, you need, like, that's like saying open-handed is trash because you can't use it by itself. That doesn't make sense. The whole point of open-handed is to use it with other aura reading perks. That's like Distressing. You don't run Distressing by itself. You only use it to get value out of add-ons and perks that, you know, help with having a bigger tear radius. So I don't like this one.
This is something you might want to pair with Shattered Hope. Even on its own, it's pretty nice. Dragon's Grip is getting a slight buff. I am reducing the cooldown time to 60 seconds, down from 80 seconds. 80 seconds is way too long. I don't know if you guys have ever used Dragon's Grip, but this perk absolutely sucks. So making it, activate a little bit more often would be nice. Hangman's Trick, again, a very small buff here.
Hangman's Trick is such a useless perk. Hangman's Trick is a perk based around countering a playstyle that you have no way of knowing is happening. Even if you see the toolboxes in the lobby, you don't know what they're for. So yeah, like I would
we're just
completely
increasing the aura reveal range to 8 meters, up from 6. Not a huge difference, but it might catch 1 or 2.
If you actually hate that playstyle, just run like Agi and like bring Oaks. Like, there's so much better stuff to do to bring this perk.
Other survivors that you
So much
normally
better
wouldn't
stuff.
see. Hex Ruin. I'm just kind of reverting one of the previous nerfs that they did to it, and that's just the stipulation that the totem reverts to a doll whenever you sacrifice or kill a survivor.
It is weird, Zan. Like, distressing needs a completely different effect, but like, Eggman's like, it's fine. We'll just increase the values. Teehee.
So now Ruin no longer goes away. It's still Ruin. It's still 100%. It's not gonna be any better, really. This is kind of getting rid of a pointless downside that I don't see the reason for.
Yep.
Next is Oppression. Again, another slight buff here. I think this one's actually a little bit more noticeable because it's a gen kicking perk. But what I'm doing here is I'm just reducing the cooldown to 60 seconds, down from 80 seconds. A lot of 80-second cooldowns from that old time period of 2 years to 3 years ago.
Yep.
A lot of perks had like
I was talking about the double training wheels, right? The effect is not powerful, but it also has a requirement, but it also has a cooldown as well. And it's just like, what? Why are all these? What's going on?
80-second cooldown, which is like really bizarre. But yeah, no, we're going with 60-second cooldown, so you could trigger the perk more often. And if you watched the previous video, you would know that I changed Call of Brine so that it only works on one generator at a time. So you could maybe use this with Call of Brine to have it line up perfectly, because they both would work for 60 seconds. So next is Territorial Imperative, which is getting a rework. Oh, thank God, dude. Territorial Imperative is ass. So let's go ahead and let's go over the rework. Any survivor who enters the basement is inflicted with the Oblivious status effect and will reveal their aura to you. These effects persist for 5 seconds after exiting the basement. So I think this would be kind of cool. Overall, it's not going to be super like game changing, but it would definitely.
I definitely like the idea that they go into the basement and they lose terror radius entirely, because that's kind of like eerie and kind of like, you know, an interesting idea for like somebody just what? Who is? Anyways, yeah, like, I think it's cool, the idea, because it's kind of eerie. Like, you're going down to the dark, creepy killer basement, and now you can't even hear terrorists anymore, so they could be there at the top of the stairs. You come back up, it's like, ah, that sounds scary. I don't know about the aura reading, because that aura reading is powerful. Aura reading and something like that is very, very powerful, especially in, like, a very vulnerable spot. So, I don't know. I'm definitely down with the first part. Second part, I guess we'd have to test that and see.
Give the survivor kind of like a, oh shit, he has territorial. Should I even do this? Is it a good idea to be down here? You know, you can't hide in the basement now, right? And you also don't know if the killer's coming your way, and because you're oblivious. I think it's kind of cool, but it also tells the survivor that you have it because they see that they're oblivious, and it would of course pop up on screen saying territorial imperative. But yeah. High risk, high reward for those who want to go for the basement chest, I guess. Next is Unnerving Presence. I'm going to do what they did with Colorophobia here. And when you're in the terror radius and you have Unnerving Presence, survivor skill checks, their rotation speed for repairing is 50% faster, basically. So it's just like Colorophobia, but for generators.
I feel like I would give... Okay, so... I personally would give this a secondary effect. I wouldn't do this. I wouldn't make this worse. I would give it like a secondary effect, because like when you're adjusting perks, you gotta understand that like the perks affect the whole roster of players, not just some of them. So skill check builds are already very, very obnoxious for newer players. So making them even worse is kind of like a choice. I'll probably just give it something secondary it also does on top of its skill check stuff, and not like make it probably more brutal for new players as well.
I think this would be kind of cool. You might have to get rid of the trigger odds effect that it has, but I don't know. Let me know what you think about this one in particular. And finally, we have Unrelenting. I kind of threw this one just
that's fun.
Because
that's fun.
I know
like
Zim likes to use Unrelenting because he's weird. So now I'm just making it so that Unrelenting will trigger its effect even if you hit an obstacle. If you don't know, Unrelenting is so bad that it actually will only reduce your attack cooldown, your missed attack cooldown, if you miss and don't hit anything. This would get rid of that. So, okay, if you're having a lot of
problems... Would Unrelenting be bad if it just, like, always applied its effect if a health state wasn't delivered? Just apply it to, like, everything? That'd be so bad.
Flame dressing. Here you go, dude. Here's your Unrelenting value. But that's it. That's the perk update that I would make. This is part 2.
So make it a good
so
anti-dead hard, anti like force endurance
do so.
too.
There's a card in the top right that will help you find the way to go. That's it for me. I will see you all next time.
Yeah, just make it like always recover quicker if you don't deliver a health state. Yeah, that'd make it a good perk against a lot of the meta stuff that's going on right now. That'd actually be nice. That way, because like that's a playstyle choice, right? Like if you don't, like you can play without that, but if you don't want to deal with like people, you know, spamming their endurance on you, whether that be through like off the record or dead hard, you just kind of say, okay, well I have unrelenting, so I care less about that. Yeah, that'd be cool. That'd be neat. Yeah. Yeah, I you know what's funny? I hope he makes more of these. I hope he makes more of these. I hope he makes more of these. I really hope he does. Yeah, make a machine, like make you just like an actual machine gun, just quickest wipes in the West. That'd be so funny. But like that's kind of the future I want to live in, right? I want to live in a future where like somebody wipes their weapon after hitting me at like Mach speed, but they don't have Overbrain Eruption, you know? I agree without the backpack. I just like I want to live in that world where those are the things that are happening and not like the quad slowdown gamers. I would much rather live in that world where just like dumb things like that are happening, but like we're not living in slowdown hell or gen rush hell. So yeah, that would be so funny. Yeah, I hope he makes more of these. These are really interesting. Like, these are really interesting. I like because like we you know, talking about like Eruption and Dead Hard and Eruption Prove and all that stuff, like it's getting kind of old to hear the conversations about it, right? Because like everybody knows those are the problem perks, right? Everybody knows. But like actually trying to like fix perks that like don't have a use or are not as good. Now that's an idea. That's something we could actually get into a think tank about and like actually come up with different ideas about. Because we don't all agree on it. Well, it's not that we don't all agree, but like there's one side of the fence and there's the other side of the fence, right? Like it's very politicky, right? But this is like, you know, how would we fix something like Beast of Prey? How would we make that more interesting? Which is like, you know, it's worth looking into. Yeah, and like you said, it's like there's not really an incentive to run other perks when some perks are literally D and F tier compared to Super S tier, right? Like why would you ever run something fun and balance like say like I even say like I see like stuff like people don't really run like enduring and stuff in their builds as much. Like you'll see enduring sometimes or like brutal sometimes. Those are nice quality of life perks. Make your chases a little bit nicer, but you don't even see those that much anymore because like why would you run that when you could be running Cobb? Why would you run that when you could be running like, you know, Pain Res? Like why would you? You know, it's just like there's not a whole lot of incentive to even run like good like B or A tier perks because the S tier perks are so much stronger than the rest of them, you know? Yeah, I'm kind of fading though. I'm kind of I haven't eaten today, so I'm kind of like fading. So yeah, that was a fun video from Tat. I really enjoyed it a lot. So I hope he makes more of those. Like this is like actually like really good content because like I said, it's covering stuff that's not like very obvious. Like it's just like how would we rework these bottom bucket perks, which is way more fun and has way more ideas we can put behind it.